Hi everyone, in this video we're going to dive into Overlord's Bloodmail's journey in League of Legends in order to understand its buffs in patch 15.8 and how this once forgotten item might now become a top tier bruiser option. Overlord's Bloodmail was brought in Summoner's Rift in patch 14.10 as a 3300 gold bruiser item, giving 40 AD, 500 HP and 2 passives. Tyranny is an HP to AD converter, taking 2% of the champion's bonus health and giving that value as bonus attack damage. The other passive, Retribution, is similar to a Last Stand type of effect where you gain up to 10% bonus AD based on your missing health. This item was brought in the game as a follow-up to the changes to Titanic Hydra in 14.1, in which they removed the HP to AD passive from the item and instead put its core strength back in the active effect. This meant that HP stackers who liked converting health into AD suddenly lost one of their main tools. That's why, 10 patches later, Overlord's Bloodmail came in as a kind of compensation item. The first change that the item received was in patch 14.19, which accompanied many fighter item changes. These changes were in most cases buffs to the survivability the item gave and nerfs to its damage. Therefore, in the case of Overlord's Bloodmail, its health went up to 550 and its flat AD went down to 30. In the most recent patch, 15.8, the item has been buffed to both its passives. Tyranny's bonus health conversion ratio to AD has been up to 2.5%, and Retribution's bonus AD maxes out at 12% instead of 10%. The reasons for the changes are numerous. Ever since its release, the item's main users have mostly been Set and Sion. Other fringe users include Olaf, Dr. Mundo, Urgot, and Briar. Overall, however, Set and Sion are the only two champions in the game which build Overlord's Bloodmail in at least 10% of their games. This means that before 15.8, Overlord's Bloodmail placed in the bottom 3 least used items in the game alongside Vigilant Wardstone and Experimental Hexplate, and it was competing with other very niche item choices like Warmog's Armor and Essence Reaver. Therefore, it's clear that Bloodmail is a champion-specific item, so making sure it delivers value to those few champions is absolutely key. Now that we've seen how the item has been buffed, let's try and evaluate that buff's value, more specifically by computing Bloodmail's gold efficiency before and after the buff. To compute an item's gold efficiency, we need to calculate how much gold in stats it actually provides. Overlord's Bloodmail gives 30 AD, which is equivalent to 3 longswords, and thus 1050 gold. It also provides 550 HP, which evaluates to 1466.67 gold. The Tyranny passive converts the item's own HP into some more AD, which evaluates to 385 gold. All in all, we therefore compute that before the buff, Overlord's Bloodmail gives 2901.67 gold worth of stats. By dividing by the actual gold value of the item, which is 3300, we compute the gold efficiency, which therefore used to be 87.93%. After the buff, Tyranny's ratio has been upped to 2.5%, giving more AD and thus raising the gold efficiency to 90.85%. Let's now take a closer look at Overlord's Bloodmail's efficiency on Sion in particular. We first take a note of the fact that the 90.85% efficiency we computed concerns the item only and doesn't take into account all the other bonus HP a champion has. It is now our goal to see how high this value can go. Overlord's Bloodmail is generally bought as a 4th or a 5th item in a Sion build. On average, at that stage of the game, Sion will have at least 3350 HP. This value is based on an older video of mine where I was looking at Sion's different game states. Here, we see that a 3-item Sion, which is very likely to buy Overlord's Bloodmail, has 3350 bonus HP if we consider his W passive, runes and items. Now that we have defined a start value for our data, we can take a look at how the gold efficiency of the item will change with the bonus HP that Sion has. We can clearly see that after the buff, the AD scaling from Tyranny becomes significantly stronger, especially for champions with high bonus HP. The gold efficiency of Overlord's Bloodmail rises notably across the board, and the more HP you stack, the bigger the payoff. For a champion like Sion, who naturally builds and gains a lot of health, this buff is huge. It turns what was already a solid item into a massively gold efficient powerhouse, giving him way more value for doing what he already wants to do, which is stack HP, become unkillable, and deal tons of damage. Finally, let's take a real game example and see how the item's buff impacts my in-game stats. This screenshot is from one of my gameplay videos from before the buff, in which I just built Overlord's Bloodmail on Sion as a 5th item. At that point, I end up with 316 AD. By subtracting my total HP with Sion's base level 18 HP, we can see that I have 6549 bonus HP. This means that the item's Tyranny passive was giving me around 131 AD before the buff, where it would give me 164 AD after, raising my total AD to around 349. This is an increase of 33 AD, which corresponds to a little more than 3 longswords and around 1150 gold more value. In total, this renders the item 263.19% gold efficient at this stage of the game. In conclusion, this buff to Overlord's Bloodmail is undoubtedly a good change that will definitely help Sion. However, it's important to remind that it remains a win more item, in the sense that you generally build this item in situations where you're already ahead or you are close to winning the game. This explains why the item has such a high win rate, similar to something like Magi's. All in all, this buff also enables Overlord's Bloodmail to be more attractive for other champions to try and build it. For example, in the early days of patch 15.8, we're seeing new users like Yorick, Kled, Darius and Skarner. That's all the time I have for today, guys. I'm leaving you with this AI generated image of Sion watching the sunset. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost at 100 subscribers, so let's try and hit it together. Catch you in the next one.